Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the EFICO podcast. We are happy to have you back for today's episode. We know that there are many content providers out there competing for your precious time and attention, and we appreciate the fact that you are tuned in to us and listening. We believe that today's episode will provide you something valuable and practical that you can apply to your life and your business. For our new listeners, the EFICO podcast is a community of professionals, business owners, and generally people looking to learn and improve in their work, in their business, and in their lives. My name is Omagbitse Barrow, and I am your online EFICO. EFICO is a Nigerian slang from the 80s and 90s that means a nerd, someone who helps you to solve your problems. Welcome again, and stay tuned to find out what the EFICO has in store for you today. We got an email from Mrs. P. She is a manager in an oil and gas company in Port Harcourt in Nigeria and is responsible for community relations. She writes, "Thank you, Mr. Barrow and the team at the online EFICO. I have just been promoted to a managerial position and I have never really done this before. I am concerned that I may not meet the expectations of my bosses and my organization. What advice do you have for a first-time manager like me?" Well, Mrs. P, your question creates a huge nostalgic effect for me. I mean, I was in a similar position exactly 19 years ago, and looking back, I almost blew it. I went in on day one as a new manager, high on my ego and wanting to stamp my authority. I learned after a few months that I had completely missed it. But thankfully, I found my way back and have made much better progress as a manager and as a leader since then. Although, quite frankly, I am still learning each day and getting better, making mistakes as I go along and picking myself back up when I fall. One of the interesting thoughts about being a new manager for me came from Professor Patutomi of the Center for Values in Leadership. In a conversation many years ago, he explained to me that one of the biggest mistakes that companies make is to promote the best officer to become a manager without preparing the best officer for the responsibilities of leadership and management. When this happens, and it happens quite often, we have observed that the new manager ends up spending time doing the things that made her the best officer, rather than moving on to do the work of leading and managing the team, which is very different from the work and the expectations at the officer level. So I am happy that you have asked your question and that you've given me an opportunity to fill that gap for you as quickly as I can on this episode of the EFICO podcast. Now, the first recommendation I will give you very quickly is not to do what I did when I first became a manager. I recommend that you very quickly, if you have at all, get off the high horse of your new position to continue to build and nurture relationships with your colleagues, engage them, and be a person of influence. Be a consultative leader that asks for their input, that listens patiently, and engages while still focused on the business goals. You must strike the balance between being a boss and a friend, because you need the foundation of solid relationships with your team members for you to be able to lead them effectively and achieve the results that you believe that your organization and your own superiors are looking forward to. The other more important recommendation is to get you to appreciate what has changed. You are now meant to be thinking and acting like a leader. So many years ago, as I transitioned from being an officer to a manager and to a business owner, and through the various transitions I've made in leadership, I reflected on all of these, all of my journey, and realized that there are 6 things that I constantly need to be thinking and acting upon if I am to stay effective as a leader. I codified these things as the leadership DNA, the 6 thoughts and dilemmas that leaders face each day, and I will share them with you very quickly. The first thought is, am I in the right place? You see, you must be a square peg in a square hole yourself. If you are not happy and fulfilled with the work that you do, then you will struggle to be an effective leader. To help you in this regard, I recommend that you try to answer these 3 questions. Question 1, what do you enjoy doing? Question 2, what are you good at doing? And question 3, what does your job expect you to do? Now, if the answers to these 3 questions, especially the first 2 and the third question, if the answers are not similar or the same, then you are what we call a square peg in a round hole, and you are misaligned. You can improve your alignment by learning more about your current job and falling in love with it, or deciding, if that fails, to find another job or another role where you will be properly aligned. The second thought is, how do I find the right people? Look around the people you have today. Are they A players? Are they people who are square pegs in square holes and able to function and achieve results with minimum supervision from you? If they are not, then you must be brutally honest in answering this. Then you need to start to challenge and support them to be better, or you need to start to look for better people to work within your team. The third dilemma is, how do I develop my people? This is where you need to look at the core competencies for each job. Evaluate where each person stands regarding these competencies and create a roadmap for their development so that they can start learning and getting better at their jobs. You must also provide patient coaching, mentoring, and teaching to support them on this journey. The next dilemma is, how do I get results from my people? This is the performance management question that requires you to look at how you set goals, how you delegate, how you supervise, how you monitor, and how you give feedback to your team members. This is an important task of leaders and managers, and one that all of us need to continuously improve and develop our skills in. The fifth leadership DNA question or dilemma is, how do I retain my best people? You need to be concerned that great people will be attractive and attracted to other organizations and even to other teams within your organization. What is your strategy for managing the career and growth aspirations of your top talent? And how do you ensure that you can deploy your talented colleagues in helping you to nurture the capabilities of others in your team? You know, the other side of retention is exit. So you must also be reflecting on the bottom performers in your team and thinking about how to challenge them to improve or get rid of them if they continue to be a stumbling block to your progress. The final leadership DNA question or dilemma is, how do I ensure that my successes are sustained? We call this the legacy question. Well, you must develop a culture of creativity and innovation so that ideas and new thinking are always festered around your team and your organization. You must ensure that you help your team to see and understand the big picture of your organization. And you must take time to start planning your succession and grooming successors for yourself. You see, If your legacy is that you managed a team successfully and once you left, things collapsed, then that was not a successful leadership journey at all. I know that all of this is a lot to take in all at once, but that's the reality of leadership. It is certainly a difficult and challenging task that requires you to start to think and act about things that you normally would never have paid attention to. I encourage you to invest in micro-learning around some of these subjects and take advantage of some of the courses we have at www.onlineairfico.com. For the rest of our listeners, if you would like to ask questions regarding your personal, professional, or organizational development and have them discussed in a professional way for the benefit of a larger audience on this program, please send an email to questions@onlineairfico.com. If you have enjoyed this episode and you would like to keep listening and learning with us, please visit www.onlineairfico.com and click on the podcast and subscribe. You can also go back and listen to some of our old episodes and the rich content that is available. Until next time, my name is Omagbitse Barrow, and I am your online air